Hey
Hey
Dan,
Jack,
how you
how
doing,
you
mate?
going?
Good mate, how are
Yeah,
you?
really.
We kind of crossed paths there.
What was that? Sorry.
We kind of answered each other at the same time.
Oh yeah,
How's
yeah,
it been?
yeah. Pretty good. I've just seen a couple of patients, and yeah, so pretty normal day. Yeah,
Yep.
pretty nice busy, nice
Yep.
amount of busy.
So where are you
Yeah,
based?
just down in Frankston South actually.
Yep.
Yeah, so down on the Mornington Peninsula. Yeah, so yeah, it's pretty nice down here. Pretty good weather actually the last few days, and yeah, pretty good forecast for the rest of the week.
Yeah, I saw that. That's actually, yeah, because I'm from down Torquay down that way, but
Yeah,
just up to Queensland. So, but
was
yeah, no,
that
sorry.
5 weeks ago? Was it?
Yeah, 5 6 weeks, which is it's been good. Had a good Chrissy up here, and um,
Yeah,
yeah, no, it's living. So, yeah, thanks for jumping on. Obviously, we're just doing a online running summit just to
yep.
give some value to runners throughout Australia and throughout the world, hopefully. So, yeah, starting off, do you want to just give a bit of an introduction about yourself and your background and kind of your pathway into running and stuff like that?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, pretty much. Yeah, my name's Dane Verwey, and I've been a physio for 10 years now, and I've really tried to specialize as a running physio, I guess, over the last 7 years, and the longer I've been in the game, the more that's become apparent. And I've really enjoyed sort of specializing in treating runners because that's been a passion of mine. So when I was about 11, I sort of realized I was half okay at running, and went through primary school, and sort of went through the school competitions, and traveled okay in some of those meets. And when you're a kid, you sort of gravitate to what you're good at. And both my parents were PE teachers, and I was always around, uh, active parents and their friends. We often would go on Christmas holidays, and we had four other couples that they all met at uni, and they were all sort of the same ilk. And every morning we wake up and go for runs, and so that just became. I just thought that was normal, and so um, you know I always sort of appreciated what a good life was with sport and exercise. And so yeah, pretty much from there, I soon gained a lot of friends through school that were involved with running, and my whole social network was runners. And that's sort of who I hung out with, and enjoyed the company of a group down at Frankston, Ballon Park, coached by Nikki Frey. And throughout school, I was coached by her, and yeah, just really learned the sport, and how good it can be with even just improving you as a person. You learn a lot of great things, and that you use just in your life. And so that friendship group that I developed through school really sort of you know confirmed my relationship with running. And then before I knew it, like I couldn't see myself without running. Like if I didn't run, I wouldn't feel that good during the day. Like I'd be a bit grumpy, or so soon became a habit. And yeah, so then I kept running after school, and that's why I chose physio actually, because I wanted to be involved with sport.
Yeah,
And yeah, and that's how it started, I
yeah,
guess.
awesome. No,
Yeah.
that's sweet. What kind of distance would you like normally run? Like a bit of a mixture, or
Yeah, I ran. I was always no good at the sprints, and always was more a slow twitch guy. And so, yeah, would do the 800 or 1500 at school, and then as soon as there was a longer distance event, I'd move up. So as soon as you could do the 3 kilometer race, when you're about 15 or 16, I did that. And then I really relished cross country because that was a bit further.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I always saw myself as a marathoner. Like for some reason, I always knew. Like I think it goes hand in hand with my temperament. Like I've always been able to focus at things for a long time, and and have always been sort of someone who's been persistent and able to just keep chipping away at things for a long time. So I always that was a good thing after school because you're too young to run a marathon.
Yep.
And so I always saw that as like, that's where I was going to head. And so I think that's what kept the fire in the belly. Like with my running, I saw that as, something that I do, like, I don't know, late 20s. So I always pictured that as where I was heading.
Cool. Awesome. And from all that experience that you had, like growing up as a kid and always been involved in running, and obviously from what you've gone through, what would you say for, say, like runners out there? What would be some main points that they should focus on in order to kind of elevate and improve themselves as a runner?
Yeah. So probably some of the, it's a pretty broad question. Like there's so many things that I've learned that have made me grow as a runner. In terms of probably the biggest thing that I see in the clinic that I see that is underappreciated is how much consistency over time and well pitched goals according to where you're at, and giving yourself a nice time frame and timeline to achieve those goals, like getting those fundamentals correct at the start, and then going about it in a sustainable way. So when you're setting your training or you're training for something, think that, am I going to be able to do this for a long time, and making choices according to that viewpoint and that standpoint. A lot of people try to, go from 5Ks to a marathon in 8 weeks, and it's an unrealistic expectation, especially if you've never done one before.
Is it just too much workload on the body, or?
Yeah, too much. Like if you've never done a marathon before and you're only giving yourself 6 to 8 weeks to build for it, and you're coming from a 5 kilometer sort of background, it's definitely too short a time for your physiology to adapt and change and get better at managing the distance. So often it ends in injury and fatigue and people giving up, unfortunately, or thinking that they can't do it or they're not made for it. But if they started it with a more realistic time frame and maybe a few B and C goals en route to a bigger A goal, like further down the track, they might realize that that's the amazing thing with running is I really do see myself as just a mediocre runner that stuck at something for a long time, and your body really does change. And especially with distance running, like you can, mediocre runners can really, if they give themselves enough time, become something, pretty good, like, and you can exceed your expectations in running. And it's a pretty amazing sport in terms of that, because if you stick at something for long enough, your physiology adapts, and then if you progress the training and you're consistent for long enough, and you're not spending huge amounts of time out injured, if you're not injured for 2 to 3 years, you're bound to run personal bests. So half the art is like being able to avoid injury and stay consistent enough, and that starts with having realistic goals and time frames at the start.
Yeah, sweet. No, that makes sense. So consistency is pretty much key.
Yeah. And you'll hear like so many, like I'm sure Benita or Sonia or some of the other people you talk to, Jack, on this panel will reverberate the same thing. Like consistency is such a huge part. Like I remember one of my coaches along the way, I was coached by a guy called Pete Swallow, and he used to have this phrase where you like make consistency your middle name. And like that's pretty much a great thing to think about, and that's what all distance runners should really try to aim for. And it's the same with a lot of things. If you want to get good at it, you have to put in the time. But a lot of people are trying to make
Shortcut.
yeah, they're just trying to do it too quickly and trying to change their whole life around in one go. Yeah.
To kind of keep at it, space it out, and make those ABC goals. You mentioned the ABC goals before. Can you kind of go into that just to kind of give a bit of depth into what that's about?
Yeah, so like say you're a 5 kilometer runner and you've got this massive ambition to run a marathon. You've never run a marathon before. Then I'd say like a B and C goal was running a 10K and then running a half marathon first. And then like the A goal is running the marathon. And like you might go, oh, well, 12 months or 24 months might be a realistic time to run your A goal, and to be fit enough and resilient enough to tolerate the training. So maybe aiming for a half marathon is a great way to slowly get yourself towards that marathon. Like I know, for example, with my marathon personal best, when I first ran my marathon, I ran a 2:24. A lot of people came to me and said, oh, maybe you can break 2:20 one day. But for me, that whole race went really well. And I was like, oh, that seems like a massive jump. So my coach at the time was like, well, why don't you aim for a 2:22 next time? And you sort of, you're breaking it up so that it seems more manageable. And so it's not as much of a shock on the body mentally and physically. Yeah, it's easy to digest, and you're more likely to achieve it because it's it's a stepping stone kind of goal.
Yeah. And as you said before, it takes takes your body time to adapt and to the physiology and the stress kind of workload. Can you kind of go away from the time and rather do maybe distances or something like that?
Yeah, or even like process, like for example, like it could just be enjoy running. Make sure I enjoy consistent injury-free running for the next 6 months, because if you achieve that, then you're going to be closer to achieving your A goal down the track.
So it doesn't have to be so specific. It can kind of be like a general concept as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's important because sometimes we get that's a really good point, because sometimes we get too driven by the numbers as runners, and sometimes simplifying it and taking a step back and looking at the whole picture. If you keep running simple and you're uninjured for that 2 years, like I said before, then PBs are going to come. So sometimes we love like a massive session, or a session that, fills you with adrenaline and you're so excited that you did it afterwards. But can you sustain that for 2 years? And sometimes we every week needs to be bigger and better than the last, and we get stuck in this this cycle that it often ends in fatigue and injury, because we're just driven by the numbers. So it's a good point. Cool. That's for sure.
Awesome. No, thanks for that. Another question for you. What's your favorite running workout and why?
Yeah, I thought of this because you did mention that the other day, and I've got two. Like one workout that I really like because it's bang for buck, and I think you get a lot out of it, and you're less likely to get injured. Well, I am, because of so I'm a runner that I would average 120 to 150 kilometers a week. So doing a 20-minute workout where it's it's called a Moneghetti fartlek, and then the other one was quarters. So with a Moneghetti fartlek, it's broken into 20 minutes, and 10 minutes of it is effort. And so you do 2 lots of 90 seconds strong, 4 lots of 1 minute strong, 4 lots of 30 seconds strong, and then 4 lots of 15 strong with the same recovery as a float. So you're not completely jogging, but you're ensuring there's a change of pace.
Yeah, I've done that.
And I just reckon you've done that a few times.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon
So yeah, just for clarification for the viewers, so it's I've done it for a while, so you might have to correct me, but it's 90 seconds on, 90 seconds off, 90 seconds on, 90 seconds off.
Yep.
And then 4 lots of the 1 minutes.
Yep.
So 1 minute on, 1 minute off times 4.
Yep.
And then that same concept, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off times 4. And then 15 seconds on, 15 seconds off by 4.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah. So you
switch at the halfway point, yeah?
Oh, yeah, you can. Yeah. So you can go.
Yeah, that's how I did it. Yeah.
Yeah. But a lot of people do it like that to try to finish stronger than, or finish on par with how they went out, so that you pace it well. But yeah, one of the beauties of that workout is like essentially the efforts are shorter. So you're going faster when you're really tired, and it's exactly what you don't want to. You don't feel like doing it, so it's a really good one mentally, and if you're starting to nail that one and feel good compared to what you have in the past with that workout, you're actually getting pretty fit. So it's a great one for confidence because it's very specific to the demands of a 5K race. So I reckon that's a great one in terms of bang for buck. It's easy to fit in. It's efficient. You get a lot out of it. And I think the risk of injury is relatively low, even compared to, say, interval workouts, because you're jogging in between. So you're not static for 2 minutes. So when you go for your effort, you're so tired that the intensity in the efforts isn't quite there because so that's kind on the body.
Yep.
So that one, and then in the last 3 or 4 years, my training for marathons has changed a fair bit. So I train pretty specifically for the marathon, and I noticed that my improvements have coincided with training a bit more specifically for the marathon. So once I've sort of added some harder sort of finishes to my 2-hour long run, so say like I'll get to a 2-hour, the 2-hour mark of my long run, I've just been jogging around, then I might do 20 minutes strong. And that 20 minutes might be at marathon pace. And like that's actually a high risk kind of session. Like you're really tired. And I certainly didn't do it when I first started marathons. But now that my body is quite resilient after 23 years of consistent running, it can handle a fair bit. And that kind of session, I've really got some great fitness benefits in terms of callousing the legs late in the race for the marathon, and the fatigue you kind of feel late in the race. So that's just a personal favorite, like that kind of session as well. Yeah.
So so it's more of like an advanced kind of session. You'd be running for a while. You got a bit of Ks in the legs. You can kind of tick over at high intensity towards the end of the run.
Yeah, like I would see like a lot of runners doing that too early in their apprenticeship of like becoming a better runner. And I think first of all, you just like learn to cover the distance and be injury free. And then like once you've strung a few marathons together and say you've plateaued, it's a nice workout to add in, even in a diluted sort of format, from like using that basic concept to sort of try to find those extra gains.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. And with that concept, can runners who are watching, can they change it to their specific distance? So for example, like with a marathon, obviously it's quite a long period of time. So say if someone was training for a 5 or 10K, can they jog around for an X amount of time and then have that kind of last, 10 minutes to go that same intensity? Does that concept kind of work as well? Or?
Yeah. Like that's like it's a good concept in terms of definitely. But I think it's very specific. Like for example, the marathon, like one of the so if you just jog your long runs, you're never really running race pace with 25 to 30 Ks in your legs. And so it does hold like a fair bit of specificity to the marathon, particularly, I reckon. But at the same time, if you're struggling to finish your 5K or 10K race, and that's a long distance for where you're at, then I reckon it's fantastic in terms of building the mental gains that you need to finish strong and have confidence when you're on the start line that you're going to finish well. So practice what you can't do on race day in workouts. And so I definitely, you can definitely sort of sculpt that to shorter distances, especially if you're struggling at the end of races, and that sort of endurance side of things is where you're falling down.
Yeah, beauty. No, that's a good outlook on it. No, I appreciate that. Awesome. Is there thanks for all your input so far. Is there anything from obviously your background's physiotherapy and been a runner for a long time. Is there anything from a physiotherapist kind of standpoint that you want to just add into the conversation just to give that extra bit of value to all the runners viewing and whatnot?
Yeah, probably the biggest thing that I try to promote as a physiotherapist is that every single runner that I see has a weak area or has a tight spot or has an area where they always pull up sore or tight at the end of runs or they might have been injured in that spot 3 or 4 times. So because running's such a repetitive sport and because we all run with different biomechanics and run differently and we've all built differently, I really am a big advocate that everyone should have 3 exercises that really specifically target that area to make it more resilient. Mm-hmm. And like the way I sort of describe it is like everyone brushes their teeth twice a day, or they should. And everyone does that to maintain their teeth. So there's this well accepted knowledge amongst the community that we need to maintain our teeth, but trying to spruik the message that it's the same with our bodies. And because running's such a repetitive sport, even if something's 5%, 10% out and it's not quite at that baseline strength that a runner should be at to do 42 Ks or to do 21 Ks, then of course it's always going to break down, or of course it's always going to be sore. Mm-hmm. And then like, because everyone's so different, it's not like this whole one size fits all kind of thing. Yeah. But like being able to like liaise with someone that, might specialize in sort of that area, and working out, okay, well, I'm always, getting knee pain, or I'm always getting a heel pain or arch pain. I wonder if there's something that I can do to make this area of my body more resilient to a load that needs to be done for my goal. And then a lot of, even if you don't have pain, acknowledging that, preventative. Yeah. So if you're suddenly, going from 10 Ks to a half marathon or half marathon to a marathon, or you've got these ambitious goals that you've never done before. Yep. The crazy thing is everyone's breaking point is different. And that's the hardest thing as a physio is I don't know when the next person's breaking point is, like, and it's according to so many factors. Like, we're complex as humans. Yep. And there's this really good analogy, like back in the day before they had algorithms in terms of engineering to make a bridge, to work out how strong a bridge had to be or what load capacity it had. They just drove trucks across the bridge and they added weight over time to see when the bridge would break. Yep. That's running. Like, we don't know the loads that the mileage that we can tolerate each week until we actually get sore. But then to learn from that and go, okay, well, I got sore at this mileage. So if I work on, working on strength around that area, or if I change my training, or if I, maybe the goal was too ambitious and I was trying to rush the training, and maybe if I spread the training out. But working out, knowing that everyone's got a certain breaking point, but that breaking point can change, definitely with smart training.
Yep.
And like I said at the start, with a well-pitched goal, a good time frame.
Yep.
But then also with the right exercises, and making that area that seems to keep breaking down more resilient. And the hard thing is that maybe that area is breaking down because the other leg's not strong enough, and so you're compensating. Or maybe it's like your particular biomechanics lends you to overloading that area of your body, so you need to, more than the next person, pay more attention to that area. And then the hard thing also, sorry, I'm drumming on a bit, but
that's great, mate.
Every year after 30, we're essentially, our hormones are changing. So if we're not doing something about it, we're losing muscle mass.
Mm-hmm.
And so essentially, if you want to keep running to a high level as you get older, there's more and more over the last 5 years been a push towards people keeping some kind of strength exercises or routine as an adjunct to their running training. Yep. And a lot of people just run because they want to run. And I'm one of them, but like at the same time, I've noticed that I can't do what I used to do 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I've certainly seen it in the clinic. So often, having to drop one day where you normally would run and replacing it with a strength regime to complement your running just keeps you in the sport, keeps you happy, keeps you consistent, and gets you closer to achieving your goals. So awesome. Probably pushing that message that having something as some exercises, whether it's a Pilates regime or a strength training regime, as an adjunct to the running is a really big message that I hope like a lot of people can take away from today.
Beautiful. Awesome. No, thanks for that. And obviously I'm sure you could agree that with that strength kind of training, that obviously then the nutritional side of it comes into play, and to keep that strength. But I suppose that's a whole topic of another conversation for another time.
So. Oh, that's so true. Like that's what I meant by like humans being so complex. Like it depends on how stressed you are, how much sleep you're getting, how you're eating, and sometimes you look at someone, like I've had someone just recently, a couple of months ago, that came in injured, but everything that I checked physically, he just ticked all the boxes. Like I couldn't find anything. And then after about an hour of just trying to find some holes in his physical assessment and trying to work out why he was getting injured, and sort of quizzing him on his running training and his decisions, I couldn't see anything. And then it wasn't until the last sort of 10 minutes of the appointment that we sort of found why. Like he'd had a bit of trouble with an eating disorder in the past, and then he admitted that he probably he's undernourished, malnourished a little bit, and it's something that he's still working on. But a common injury that he had IT band syndrome, a common injury that you see all the time, but the reason that someone can have it can be so different depending on the individual circumstances.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, that's really interesting. Oh, awesome. Thanks for all that, Dan. I really appreciate it, man. I'm sure the viewers do as well. So, obviously you specialize in running for physiotherapy. If people wanted to reach out, and you do some online stuff?
Yeah, especially since COVID, that just forced me to really, have to do a lot of Zoom appointments. I regularly do telehealth appointments for runners all across. I've seen people from all across Australia, whether it was Sydney or down at Horsham,
cool.
and Lake Boga.
Awesome.
So
If people wanted to reach out, where could they find you?
I have got a website, www.runculture.org, and on that website, I've got an area where you can book an appointment. I've also got a good presence on Instagram, so just type in run.culture, and on Facebook, same thing, Run Culture. And I've got an injury and training support group as well, where each week I just try to cover a few topics to try to better educate the runners out there.
Awesome. That's great, Dane. Well, I'm sure there'll be a few people to reach out and grab your help from there. So I really appreciate, I'm sure everyone else appreciates what you've said today and the value that you've given. So thanks once again. And I'm sure we'll chat again soon.
Yeah, no worries, Jack. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to have a chat. It was good fun.
No worries, mate. I'll speak to you soon. Take care, all right?
Yeah, you too.
Thanks, Dane. See you, mate.
All right. See you, mate. Bye.
Bye.